This is Bill Brady speaking on the topic of the high priest and headship over the house of God. First off, it's important to see that the high priest and headship over the house of God is the highest kind of being the Son of God. There are the sons of God, and there is the Son of God. And there are more than one who are the Son of God, but the Son of God is Father headship as a Son of God. And Father headship as a Son of God is being in headship over the house of God as the high priest. So interesting. This is the highest form of priesthood because it is the high priest according to the order of Melchizedek. And it is the highest form of being a Son of God or the Son of God. Okay. There are four major journeys that each one of us could potentially take. The first journey is the individual journey. The second journey is the journey as part of a corporate identity. The third journey is the journey of leadership. And the fourth journey is the journey of headship. Everybody is called to take the personal individual journey, though the nature of your personal journey will vary depending on whether you've been called to leadership or headship or not. But everybody is called to take a corporate group journey, to make a corporate or group journey. But your corporate or group journey will be different depending on what group you are called to be part of or destined to be part of. Being a head is actually both a personal and a corporate identity. And some are called to be part of this corporate journey to become a head. Some are part of the corporate journey to become a body. Some are part of a corporate journey to become a house. Now let's talk about leadership. By leadership, I mean apostles, prophets, teachers, pastors, and evangelists. And some are called to be each. Some are not called to be any of them. So one who has not been called to be an evangelist, a pastor, a shepherd, teacher, prophet, or apostle is not called to the leadership journey. If you're not called to be one of those, you're not called to be a leader in the leadership journey. But you're not left out. You're going to be one of the saints. But those who are, let's back up a little bit here. Well, let's do it this way. Those who are not called to be leadership are not necessarily exempted from headship. Some who are called to headship get there by way of being an apostle or a prophet first. But some who are called to headship never were called to be an apostle or prophet. Now let's talk about headship. In the natural, there are, well, three kinds of headship. One is husband headship over the wife. And don't trigger. That's not a control thing at all. It's a loving thing where you love your wife up into the fullness of her identity. Then there's father headship over a house, which is filled with children and sons. And then there's king headship, which is two kinds of king headship. There's king of kings, which means you're a king in headship over other kings. And there is just simple king headship, which is actually a kind of husband headship, where you're in headship over the body of Christ or over New Jerusalem. And the ones that you're in headship over are corporately a body or a city, body of Christ. New Jerusalem's a city. In each case, it's a wife identity with a husband over in headship. In king headship, the husband is functioning in husband headship over the body of Christ. And in lamb headship, the husband is functioning as the lamb in headship over New Jerusalem. And New Jerusalem is both personal and corporate. Back to the personal journey and the corporate journey. You can either have a personal journey, well, you're going to have both. You have a personal journey as New Jerusalem to grow up to the place of becoming immortal, or you're going to have a corporate journey as New Jerusalem. Overall, there is one, the New Jerusalem. So again, reviewing 4 journeys: your personal journey, your corporate journey, your leadership journey, and your headship journey. Everybody is called to have a personal journey. It's a little different for everybody. There's some broad paths that we follow, or well-known paths, let's say. They're none of them broad. They're all narrow. But then there's the corporate journey, whether you're corporately called to be part of a body, or corporately called to be part of a head, or corporately called to be part of a city. There are several different corporate journeys that we function in and have, and that's by destiny, combination of destiny and desire. God chooses and you choose to follow or not to follow. And he gives you desire. Usually the desire is because he's chosen you. You can try to choose something that you haven't been chosen for, and it's just not going to happen. Personal and corporate journey. Then leadership journey, especially apostles and prophets, and some are called to be apostles and some are called to be prophets, and some are not called to be either. And then the headship journey. Some are called to be heads, and many are not called to be heads. And both are a really good calling. Both are a really good calling. But the calling to headship is uncommon. It's not just some that are called to be heads. It's like few are called to be heads. It's a place of great honor, but it's also a place of great responsibility. And trying to function as a head when you haven't been given all the equipping that goes along with being a head, you'll fail. And there is loving headship, and then there are those who say, you must obey me. And that's unfortunately the experience that many of us have had with fathers who were insisting on their headship rather than loving their wife and loving their children up into something. They were doing this selfishly and insisting that their wife and children obey them and meet their needs and do what they want them to do for them. Then there's true headship, which is loving headship, which is very sacrificial and is very much loving and is patterned on Yeshua's headship. And these are those two kinds, well, the three kinds of headship that I mentioned. Husband headship over a body, or in the case of New Jerusalem, over a city. Father headship over a house. King headship, which is king of kings over other kings. And then there's the other kind of king headship, which is actually the husband headship over the body of Christ. Okay, so these four journeys. And all of us are called to the personal and corporate journey of one kind or another. Some of us are called to that leadership journey, and a few of us are called to the headship journey. And some who are called to the headship journey never were an apostle or prophet. Or at least I see the possibility of that. Now let's take a look at father headship over the house of God. That's where I started out. So again, it's the highest level of functioning as a priest. So it's the highest function as in priesthood. Both that high priest is higher than any priest, but also that high priest, according to the order of Melchizedek, is higher than any other kind of priesthood. And it's also the highest form of functioning as Son of God. It is a headship function as the Son of God, in headship over the house of God. And the house of God has the sons of God in it as the mature ones. And well, first it has the children of God, which are immature, and then it has the sons of God, which are mature. And then over the house of God, there is a father functioning in father headship. It's the highest form of father headship. Actually, probably not. It's a very high form of father headship. One more thing to see. No one functions fully at the end of their Son of God journey, at the completion of their Son of God journey. Not that it ends, but that they are in full maturity as a Son of God. No one functions in that without being resurrected from the dead or having their body changed. Yeshua was the Son of God on the earth, which means he was in headship as the Son of God on the earth. There will be the sons of God on the earth who will not be in headship, but he was the Son of God upon the earth. And when he was resurrected from the dead and then ascended, then he sat down in headship over the house of God as the high priest in headship over the house of God. So those two things, resurrection from the dead and ascension up into this headship position. Those are both well, let's leave it at that. And the high priest in headship over the house of God is able to save to the uttermost. The high priest over the house of God is going to do the resurrection from the dead function in the highest function of the resurrection from the dead function. They're not just going to resurrect those who died mortal death recently or as much as 3 days ago and resurrect them back to mortal life, only to later have to face mortal death again. They're not going to do that kind of a resurrection. Well, they may do that kind of resurrection, but they won't be only doing that kind of resurrection. Yeshua said that the day was coming that all would hear the voice of the Son of God, and they'll be resurrected. Some to condemnation and some to everlasting life and immortal life. This is for those who, this is the general resurrection or the second resurrection. And this is for everybody that doesn't get resurrected in the first resurrection or gets changed, have their body changed from mortal to immortal, as well as being changed from corruptible to incorruptible. Those who are going to function as the high priest and headship over the house of God in oneness with Yeshua as the high priest and headship over the house of God. Yeshua got there by being resurrected from the dead and being given immortality at that time. But my sense is that those who are going to function in oneness with Yeshua as the high priest, which is a corporate identity, they will get their immortality without dying. And it is quite possible that they won't even have to wait for a resurrection. They will be able to save to the uttermost, which means, my sense, that means they're going to join Yeshua in corporate function of resurrecting the dead at the first and second resurrections. In every identity we first receive, then we do the function, then we train others in how to do the function. You who are listening to me do have a calling, either as one of the sons of God, who are mature sons in the house of God, functioning as one of the sons of God, or very few, it's a very rare thing, will have a destiny and a calling to function as part of the corporate high priest and headship over the house of God. All of you will be resurrected from the dead one way or another, or have your body changed and will become immortal one way or another, either before death or after death, either being resurrected at one of the resurrections or having your body changed from mortal to immortal at one of the resurrections, or having your body changed before one of the resurrections. Those who are going to function in high priest headship over the house of God, my belief is that they will have their body changed before either the first or second resurrection. Either way, your full function as one of the sons of God or as one of the son who are the Son of God requires that your body be changed from mortal to immortal. This is, I just laid out a lot of revelation here. I did it as orderly as I know how to do it. Don't trigger at it. Something within you is going to say, yeah, I don't understand it, but I know it's true. That's resonance. That's when your spirit is resonating with the truth that I just spoke, that I sowed as a seed into you. So some of you are ready to receive the seed of these truths. Receive them. At a later point, you'll begin to enter into them, into functioning in them. But others of you have done an extensive journey and you are ready to, uh, what I just spoke for you is revelation that gives you understanding, which helps you to journey a little further down the destined path that God has given you to walk on, to journey on. Every one of you at some point will come to the end of a journey as one of the sons of God, or one of those who is corporately the Son of God. And by end, I don't mean you stop functioning as a son of God or the Son of God. By end, I mean you have complete function that you are destined to have. Again, what destiny you have is a combination of the will of God and your desire. God chooses, and we choose to follow him. And we have a desire that causes us to choose to follow him. But you cannot manufacture something simply by desire alone. It has to be God's choice there. That desire, when it's all by itself without God's choice, is selfish ambition. That will never get you anywhere. In fact, what will happen is you'll be crushed down until you come to a place of humility, which is knowing who you are. And who you are is who you've been destined to be, combined together with you choosing to follow the journey, do the journey, and follow the path that leads to who you've been destined to be. Selfish ambition is going to be crushed until you do have humility. And humility is not functioning in self. Humility is functioning in, yeah, I know who God chose to make me. I know who he destined me to be, and I know that there is a journey, and I'm choosing to do that journey. And I'm doing that journey in response to his choosing. There's no self in this doing of the journey. Once you get self out of you and you're functioning humility, it's just a very peaceful and gentle flow into something that you know is your destiny. Others may say, you're usurping Jesus's place. Well, we can't become anything without being in oneness with Jesus in something that he's already become. You just can't do it. It can't be done out of self. As long as you're not functioning in self, you've been crucified to self, and you're following a journey that you know you've been destined for, you're not usurping anything. You're just becoming who Jesus is in an area that you've been called to function in oneness with him, to have the same oneness of identity and the same oneness of function. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. In fact, God's delighted with it. Doesn't matter what everybody else accuses you of or can't see or doesn't honor you. See, honor allows you to function towards them in what you are called to be and in the functions that you have grown into. If they honor, then you can function towards them in that identity and function. If they don't honor you, you can't. But it doesn't change you. It just changes what they can receive from you and what they can understand of what you teach. It changes their destiny, but does not change yours if they choose not to honor you. They're the ones that are left out. It doesn't change anything about you. Moses was the meekest of men, and yet he's the highest identity and function at that time. Yeshua, of course, was the second Moses, and he was just as humble as Moses was. There was no pride in what he said when he said, I am this or I am that. Um, I am the Christ, or I am the Son of God, or I am anything else. He was speaking what the Father had revealed to him, and his functioning humility. Okay, you may want to listen to this more than once, quite likely, actually.